Well, it's a rainy day here in Florida, and I thought I'd do a rainy day picture. So there's the picture. It's not on a greeting card this time, it's on a 9 by 12 inch piece of paper. And I'll show you how I did it, and I'll tell you why I picked that as an idea for the painting right now. All right, so hope you're doing okay. It's raining outside, and today I'm painting on a 9 by 12 sheet of paper made by Artist's Loft, and as you can tell, I have decided to go with the time-lapse approach, only because this one took about an hour and a half, and didn't know if you wanted to watch for an hour and a half, but I don't think I left out anything. I turned off the camera a couple times to take a break, and sometimes when I do that I forget to turn the camera back on, but I don't think I did that this time. So all of the little marks. So I start with you know what, I don't really start with the pencil. I was going to say that, but that's not true. What I actually start with is the idea. And so the idea goes back into the days when I was probably in my late 20s. I grew up on Long Island, and I had moved to Florida when I was 17, but I went back to Long Island, spent a lot of time there in my 20s, and played a lot of bars, played guitar, and sang and did popular songs and cover songs, and tried to get the attention of record companies and be an artist in my own right, a musical artist. Funny, huh? The word artist, how that applies. But anyway, that didn't work out. But I did have a lot of fun. I did have a lot of fun in those years, and I played a lot of bars and a lot of you know what? I think they were all bars. This is the funny thing. People will say, I played bars, and I played nightclubs, and I played lounges, and I played coffee houses, and they're really all bars, except for the coffee houses. I guess you could argue that they're not really bars. They're just coffee houses. So in those days, the hours of working were usually from like 9 p.m. till 2 a.m. So you get out of your job playing in a bar at 2 a.m. and you're still not excited, but you're still wide awake, and there's no way you want to go straight home. So one of the favorite places to go to was the diner. I'm trying to remember the name of the diner. I think one of them was called the Sunrise Diner. They're on Long Island. If you're from Long Island, you might know it. But there was also one called the Empress Diner. So those are the two names I remember, but there was more than two diners that we went to. And I say we because it wasn't always just me by myself. I played as a duo, so there was another guy, and he had a girlfriend, so she would come along, and sometimes other people would come along. So it would be, 3 or 4, 5 people sitting around one of those tables. And those tables had those little jukeboxes on the side of them. You put the quarter in, and then when you put the quarter in, the music comes on, even if it's not the song you picked. The music comes on, and it's somebody else's song from someplace else in the diner. And but you pick your song, and then you just wait until your song comes on. And then once your song is done, then the thing turns off, which was kind of weird, because you put the quarter in and you can listen to all this music until yours plays. Do you remember that by chance? Does anybody remember that? So I remember going to the diner one time, and I put the quarter into that little jukebox thing, and I picked the song Taxi by Harry Chapin. Harry Chapin was a Long Island guy. And I think by this time Harry had already died. And I loved that song Taxi. And so the song came on finally after listening to other people's choices. And it just seemed magical. It was raining outside. It was dark. The rain was hitting the glass. I was sitting right next to the window, watching the cars go by in the nighttime. Usually the meal of choice was grilled cheese. Get a grilled cheese, get a pickle, get a little coleslaw, right? And Harry Chapin was singing. And to this day, I can't not, I don't know how to say that, but I always will visualize that moment sitting in that diner whenever I hear that song, the Harry Chapin song. And here's a weird part about that story. Years later, when I was kind of settled in Florida, I worked for a radio station, and Harry Chapin had already died, and his brother, I think his name was Stephen Chapin, does that sound right? I could be wrong about his name. But his brother and Harry Chapin's band, or at least the bass player, Big John was the bass player. That's what they called him, Big John. So they were landing in Orlando, and they were going to do a show here in Ocala. And they needed somebody to go pick them up. This is before Uber and whatever. So there was a rich lady in town, and she was kind of sponsoring the whole thing. And she had a limousine, and she had a sedan. And so it was myself and another guy, and we were asked to go pick up Harry Chapin's brother and bring them back to Ocala, okay? So the other guy took the limousine, and I took the sedan. So when we get there, here I'm thinking that I'm going to be driving like the backup singers and stuff. But what happened was Harry Chapin's brother said, I get to ride in limousines all the time. Let's let the backup singers have the limo, and John and I, Big John, the bass player, and I will ride in the sedan. So here I was driving Harry Chapin's brother, just like in the song Taxi. I was his taxi driver in a way, and I drove him back to Ocala. I remember they wanted to stop at a liquor store too, by the way. But here's the thing, I got lost. There was no GPS back then, and I didn't want to admit that I was lost. But I knew I was lost. Okay, picture Florida. Picture where Orlando is, right? It's not near the ocean. But all of a sudden, I could see the ocean. I had gone east toward the ocean instead of north toward Ocala. I was like, oh no. But I never said a word. I never told them. They were in the back seat, chatting, sleeping, whatever they were doing, and I just kept driving. And eventually I got back to the rich lady's house. By the way, the rich lady, I can tell you, her name was Mrs. Castro. Mrs. Castro was the wife of Bernard Castro. I'm trying to remember what her name was. Was it Bernadette, or was that the daughter? But anyway, the daughter was at the door. So that's the Castro, not the Castro like from Cuba. It's you remember the Castro convertible couches? Well, that's how they got their money. They sold all those couches. So she was wealthy, and she loved theater, and she loved Broadway, and somehow they knew Harry Chapin, and when he died, the brother had called to see if he could do a show as a tribute to his brother. So by the time we got back to the rich lady's house, it was a mansion. It was a nice big house, and the daughter, a really nice person, really sweet lady, but she was like laughing. What took you guys so long? Would you stop at a bar? And of course, we hadn't stopped at a bar, but we did stop at a liquor store. And those guys were sleeping in the back seat anyway. They didn't realize it took like an hour more than it should have. But anyway, then that was it. That was the whole thing. And then I guess when they did the show, the actual performance was like a day or two later, and I was able to go to the show, which is kind of cool. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I was like the opening act for them, but not on the stage. They had us out in the lobby playing music, whatever. So anyway, so there's my tangent. I went on a big tangent there from talking about being in a diner in the rain, which is what this painting is about. So the way that this painting has to work is it has to have some hugely contrasting elements. It has to have a lot of light and a lot of dark. It just has to happen that way. That's the way most nighttime pictures are, whether it's a photograph or a painting or whatever. So what I'm trying to do here is slowly build up the dark areas and carefully trying to keep the light areas. And as you see, there's two people holding an umbrella. They will be silhouettes. They will not be detailed paintings, or they will not be detailed images in the painting. And I am using the Winsor & Newton watercolor from the Pan watercolors. And as I said, the paper is called Artist's Loft. I know some of you like to know that stuff. As far as the brush, I honestly don't know. It's just old brushes I have. I've used these brushes forever. Most of the print on the brush itself is worn off. So, well, let me tell you about this painting here. So this is looking really ugly, and that's not unusual. Almost everything I do looks ugly until after a while it starts to happen. And it's nerve-wracking because you always think, well, this isn't going well, and well, I'll just keep working at it. And you want to know something? Sometimes you can work at it until the day after tomorrow, and it never gets any better. So it's just one of those things where just keep working on it. I kind of like the way this one turned out. You probably already saw it in the opening clip, which is always done last. But yeah, this is a rainy night at a diner. I was going to call it Rainy Night at the Empress Diner, but I don't know that it looks like the Empress Diner. It's kind of half from memory, just trying to remember what it might have looked like. Back in those days, there was no cell phones, of course, and my brother lived in Los Angeles, so he was 3 hours before us, and there was a payphone at the diner. And he was originally from Long Island, just like I am, and so I would call him up sometimes at 2 a.m., which would be 11 p.m. his time, which was nothing. He was a guy who went to bed late anyway, so 11 was nothing. But I would call him up and chat with him. And, yeah, that was probably in the, I'm going to say the late 70s, early 80s. That I did a lot of that. And I went back there not too long ago with Robin. We went to Long Island and spent some time there. Got to see my cousins for the first time in a long time. And I think we passed the diner. I think I pointed it out to Robin. I said, that's the diner we always used to eat. Grilled cheese with coleslaw and slice of pickle. Not a slice, what do you call it? A spear of pickle. Well, as you can tell right now, look at this painting. It is just a mess. It's like, I'm at this point, I'm sure in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is going nowhere. Why am I even recording this one? This is going to be thrown in the garbage. I can't use the video. I can't use the painting. But I kept doing it. And we're about halfway through right now, and hopefully the time lapse is not a big deal for you. But yeah, I kept working on the two people, the silhouette. I wanted to make sure they were a little bit darker than the background. At this point, they're way darker than the background. But in the finished picture, they're not that much darker than the background, which is kind of good. I like it that way. It's kind of has an artsy feel to it. And of course, the water that's on the ground from the rain is just causing reflections all over the place. So, yeah, those were the days. I drove a 1970 Nova back in those days. So let's see, what year was that? So that would have been late 70s, early 80s. So the car was, 10 years old about? So not too bad. But it was my go-to car. Man, I drove that thing everywhere. And now when I see like these classic car shows, I see the Nova. I know right away. I'm not a car guy, So I'm not a good one to say what kind of car is that, this, and the other thing. But I always can recognize that Nova, the 1970 Nova. That's my, I think it was my third car that I ever had in my life. And probably the one I remember the most. So you can see that I tried a little bit of purple in the sky just to give a little bit of that blue tone, even though it's purple. I didn't really keep it there, but it's still in the mix in the final painting. And those red marks on the ground, they kind of got washed away too. But still, they play a role. They play a role in the whole composition. The pencil marks that I used as the first sketch, I kept them in there. I always keep them in there. I don't really get rid of them. Sometimes I feel like I should, but they kind of add to it a little bit, I think. People seem to like them anyway, especially on the greeting cards. The greeting cards are a hit. Man, I never realized people loved greeting cards so much. But I'll do a greeting card here on YouTube, and I'll have somebody writing me, ask me if they could buy it like a day after the video goes up. And it's like, whoa. Well, some of them I'm keeping, as I have them like mentally marked for somebody in particular. Like Robin's brother got one of his yard, and I gave one to Robin of a picture I did of her walking across the bridge in what was that place called? Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I think is where that was. And just one, I put them aside. I had a glass of wine. I painted a glass of wine. You might remember that one. I gave that one to Robin's mother. She's one of the few. Well, she's probably the only person I know who insists on having a fancy glass. Her wine cannot be in a coffee cup. Her wine cannot be in a normal glass. It has to be in the fancy, long-stemmed glass, the delicate glass. Yeah, she and I, Robin's mom and I, we're coffee buddies. When we go to the beach, I'll drive through McDonald's and we'll both get a coffee. And she's a pretty amazing lady, 91 years old, and still walks a couple miles every day. I've been trying to do that too. Not a couple, but at least one. Yeah. So, yeah. I've been going to the doctor lately just for checkups, but every time I go, he always will say, try to get some walking and try to get some walking. So I told him today, because I went today. I said, hey, guess what? I'm getting walking. And I got this little app on my phone. It tells me how far I walked and blah, blah, blah. And, looking back at the years that I'm referring to in this painting, in the late 70s and the early 80s, I walked everywhere. I did have a car. I had the 1970 Nova. But what I mean is that I would walk, first of all, the entire night of playing the guitar was always standing. I didn't sit. And I just walked everywhere, unless the car was necessary. But pretty much I walked everywhere. Took the train, walked to the train. The train station was a mile away. So I walked to the train station, take the train into the city, and whatever had to get done in there. There were auditions. I was always auditioning back in those days for one thing or another. And those good times, good memories. They say when you get older, that's what you keep falling back on, is your memories. So I don't really do that a whole lot. But it is fun to bring them up. So now that I'm watching this replay, this time-lapse replay, I'm starting to see the diner starting to appear. And I'm just thinking to myself, I really need to go get a grilled cheese sandwich. I really need to go into the kitchen, grab a couple slices of bread, put some cheese between them, and put them in a frying pan. Is that how you do grilled cheese? Some people do it in a toaster oven. That's good too. But I don't have a toaster oven right now. I have a microwave, and that doesn't work with grilled cheese. It sort of can do it, but it doesn't work. No. Not that I'm any kind of a chef or anything. So what I wanted to do here, and you can probably tell, I wanted the light to be coming from I guess that would be a moon, right in front of the couple, just kind of hanging in the sky there. I don't know why I made it so yellow, but I did. It almost looks like a comet flying through the air. But that's where the light source. Plus, of course, there's a lot of electric lights, and there's the light inside the diner. And it's funny when you paint a picture, and it starts to look like what it's supposed to look like. You suddenly are there. You're in that place. So if you're painting a seascape or something, you're at the ocean. You're at the beach. In this case, I was in the rainy parking lot of the diner, the Sunrise Diner or the Empress Diner or whatever diner was there at the time. I wonder if they still have the little jukeboxes. I wonder if they are still there. Those were pretty cool. That's one of the things, like when you think about what young people don't get to experience. There's so many great things right now that they have that we didn't have. But every once in a while, you just want to share something like that with the young people, right? Just say, this is how we used to call people. Of course, that's no big deal. But the music, that is a big deal, I think, because right now you could go on your phone. I know you know this, but you can go on your phone. You can pull up any song. Any song. I mean, the craziest songs, the hardest to find songs are not hard to find anymore. Back in my day, we would go to record stores. If we had a song we definitely wanted to hear that we hadn't heard in years, you'd have to go to one of these record stores and just look and look and look through the racks, and then, oh, here it is, I found it. Or you'd find the album with the song on it, and you'd say, well, I don't really need the whole album. I just want to buy the song. Isn't it available as a single? And you sometimes buy the album anyway, bring it home. Remember those days with the albums? Gosh, I used to absorb them. I used to read every liner note, and I got to know pretty much every song on every album I ever owned. Now I don't own any. Well, I take that back. Yes, I do. I have Abbey Road from the Beatles. I have all of the Woodstock albums. I think there's four of them, and each of those albums has 2 discs, I think. So there's like 8 discs. Robin got them all for me one birthday. And I think I have Harry Nilsson, The Point, and I think I have Michael Jackson. Is it narrating E.T.? I think somehow I ended up with that. I probably bought that for my son when he was little. But I ended up with it. I should bring it to him. I wonder if he has a record player. I don't really have a record. I have one, but you can hardly hear it. It's so low. There's no volume on it. So as you can tell here now with the painting, I'm just trying to create what I need to create to make it look like the look I have in mind. I feel like the video is washing it out a little bit. So I'm going to try to adjust the settings, because the actual painting is darker than I'm seeing on the screen right now. So I will try to adjust that. So by the time you're watching it, if I adjust it correctly, you won't even know. You won't even realize. But it looks fine to me, you'll say. It looks pretty good. Anyway, so always good to chat with you guys and read the comments that you put on there the other day. I mentioned my father's birthday. It was yesterday. Wow, it was just yesterday. And a couple of you wrote thank you. I said thank you, but a couple of them said happy birthday to my father. He's in heaven. He's not here, but it was a heavenly happy birthday. And somebody even posted that on the YouTube channel. That was kind of nice too. So anyway, it looks like we got about 6 more minutes left in this, and I think I'm gonna wrap up my narration. I'll just let the music take us out. The music is from the YouTube studio, and it's usually pretty nice. I don't even know what I'm going to use yet, but I'll use one of the pieces that I like. All right, I'm going to wrap it up right now. Let you guys watch the rest of this. Put some music on behind it. If I had the license to, I would put Harry Chapin singing "Taxi." Remember that line? I stuffed the bill in my shirt. Remember that? Harry? I gotta go listen to that song now. All right, kids, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave you with the music, and I'll see you later. Bye.